Yeah. Hello and good morning. Aloha, Chuck.
Aloha. Aloha.
So good to see you again.
Good to see you again. I enjoy our meetings.
Yeah, we just talked yesterday. So today we said we would talk about your upcoming workshop. Actually, there are a lot of workshops coming up, but it's the one in Germany, Frankfurt, which is a very special occasion. Maybe you just want to explain a little bit about it. And it's the workshop itself is about forgiveness and ancestral healing.
Um, it began with my friend Roger Epstein, who was on a bus on his way to Bhutan, where he was going to take a workshop on happiness. And they have a happiness inventory for their citizens,
Mhm,
because they realize how important that is, that if you're not happy, somehow you're making a mistake. And of course, when we're not happy, what we're doing is pointing the finger at someone else, like, you made me unhappy, you victimized me, you did this to me. And that's all fine on the surface level, but if you go to the subconscious, you find that that's not true at all,
mhm,
that there's a whole other story going on, and that it has to do with actually, in the subconscious, it shows that we set up the whole situation.
mhm,
We set it up so we could get angry. We set it up so we could be independent. We set it up so we could do things our way. And basically, if you go back to every trauma, you'll find that as the root causes.
mhm, mhm,
We think our way is a better way. Like, if you're fighting for your partner, I know you've never done that, anybody out there, but I'll just mention this. If you're fighting with your partner, you'll get passive aggressive, or you'll withdraw, or you'll attack back because you want to fight for your way and you don't want to do it your way.
mhm,
Do it their way. But there's three options. There's the other, your partner's way.
mhm,
There's your way.
mhm,
And usually those don't always lead to success. But there's another way, which is heaven's way. And you can invoke heaven's way. You can invoke the Tao, the Holy Spirit, to come into the situation and bring its way, because its way is a way that everybody wins,
mhm,
not only now, but for all eternity. This is actually a quote from A Course in Miracles.
mhm,
So it's like to let, instead of deciding for yourself, let the Holy Spirit decide. Let the Tao decide, because it has an answer forever.
mhm.
So, but we're really caught up. And when we get triggered, we have this reactive situation and we don't realize there's a better way.
Mhm.
Um, can you think of I'll go back to the workshop coming up in Germany, but have you ever been triggered by someone recently?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So here is another option.
Mhm,
Right in the heat of it, you don't get this because you're just fighting back.
mhm,
But let's say you ask that both of you be carried back to heaven's path.
mhm,
And on heaven's path, there's holy family bonding, there's grace, there's miracles,
mhm,
there's the recognition that everybody is innocent, even your partner. But that's what God's path holds. So when you get back there, you realize that their acting out was a call for help.
mhm.
And
But
then you have a
mhm,
choice. Well, do I want to attack them while they're down?
mhm, mhm,
Do I want to assert my way?
mhm,
Or do I want to bring up the soul gift that I had brought in my mind for this very occasion? So what was that soul gift that you had brought in for this very occasion?
integrity.
So as you bring in that gift, open it up. And in A Course in Miracles, it says you can offer your gifts to God and he will multiply them 1,000 or 10,000 times.
Mhm,
So you want to offer that integrity.
mhm,
Now, the thing about offering it to God and receiving it back is it adds to your wholeness, your peace, your confidence. And then as you share that integrity, I mean, integrity lets us receive. So as you share that with him, then how do things feel now? How do things seem to turn out?
Calm.
Yeah, and it's the peace that we're seeking because peace leads to health. Peace leads to abundance. Peace leads to love. Peace leads to joy. So, we think, oh, peace is so, so boring, but it's quite the opposite. That's what your ego tells you. But if you really have peace, it is scintillating.
Yeah.
I was once teaching a workshop in 1984, and I was going, I'm talking about peace, but I don't really know what it is because I like to be stimulated.
Mhm. Mhm.
And, so I said, please show me what peace is. So everybody left. They went out the door. It was in this beautiful home overlooking Kaneohe Bay from the mountainside. And as soon as the last person left, I could barely walk. I backed over about 20 feet, fell onto a couch, and for 2 hours just stayed in this ecstatic place. It was intense. It was the most sensual, sexual, aesthetic, sublime, spiritual experience that I had come in contact with up until that point. And at the end of 2 hours, people start coming back, and I thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for answering my question. I now know what peace is.
Wow. Mhm. Well, the world
It's
really needs this kind
the
of.
world needs this because everybody wants to do it their way as the way to that will save me
Mhm, mhm.
and save you too if you just do it my way.
Yeah.
But of course, that just leads to authority conflict, power struggle, a loss. We have lost stories because we didn't get to do it our way.
Mm.
But if we can go back to every place where we had a trauma, there was loss there,
Yeah. Mhm.
and look for heaven's way.
Mhm.
Every dark cloud has a silver lining, as the saying goes. And there are many spiritual texts that talk about how everything happens for the best.
Mhm, mhm.
Now, that sure doesn't feel like that in my life. I had all these bad things happen and things like this. But if it wasn't joyful, the people around you were calling for help, you were calling for help, but there was a lesson, a soul lesson. And to learn a soul lesson kind of leaps you forward in consciousness. It saves you time. It gets you off a dark road and you learn the lesson, and more light comes into your life, more life comes into your life.
Mhm, mhm.
Anyhow, my buddy there was sitting next to actually president of a college, and uh, they were on the way to this happiness conference, and she was lamenting the fact that she said, "Well, but I'm a German, and I can't be happy because of what happened in the war. I still feel guilty about that."
Mhm.
And my buddy was just so stuck by it because he had been running the forgiveness project in Hawaii for 20 years. And about 20 of the students who were also going up to the conference, they were all lamenting this fact.
Yeah.
And so he came back to Hawaii and he called me up and we were talking. And I said, well, it's like forgiveness heals guilt. And also, ancestral guilt can be healed just as easy as anything. I said, I've been doing that work since the 70s and learned a half a dozen ways to do that. So from that came this idea of doing an ancestral healing workshop and a forgiveness workshop. And for people to understand what forgiveness is, it's not condescension. I'm big spiritual. Pooba, great spiritual Pooba, and I condescend to let you who have made a mistake. I condescend to let that go. That's not what it is. It's saying, oopsie, my bad. Sorry I made this mistake.
Mhm.
Sorry I set this up. The Hawaiian Ho'oponopono method, made famous by Morna Simi Ona, and who also taught in Germany, and Dr. Yu Lin. They were both shamans. They were both Hawaiian kahunas, and they taught a simple Ho'oponopono exercise. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I projected my stuff on you. I made you act out my past. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I couldn't have found this hidden piece in me if you hadn't acted it out for me. Thank you. I love you. And to repeat that with strong intention over and over again takes off layers of the illusion. Now, Buddha says it's all illusion. It's all a dream. But there are happy dreams, and most people aren't ready to jump into oneness. They
Mhm.
they want to take it in steps and enjoy the journey. But of course, at each step, more of the darkness comes up where we separated. I what I have found in the mind is what I call the astral, which is since the big fall, we fell many times, hundreds of times, maybe thousands of times. And each time it was to build our own world of separation. But when you separate, neediness comes up, fear comes up, guilt comes up, inadequacy, illusion. Separation makes illusion. So here we are in this illusionary world trying to find little bits of happiness. And we all think it comes from different places until we get disappointed, disillusioned. Didn't you, Bettina, at some point think, relationships will save me. They will make me happy.
Yeah, a part of it, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. And
First I
then
was
we get,
dying, no, 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 and now I'm like, yes, yes, yes.
get disillusioned. Last night I was doing a conference call with our mastery students, and one woman was complaining about her partner. I said, listen, I mean, and he was there too. I said, listen, it doesn't get any better. You're a woman. You signed up to redeem men. Sorry about that. You it's like, have you tried women? And we all had a good laugh about that, but it's like she realized, okay, there's a way that I can heal this situation, even though she was so angry at him being angry.
Okay. I understand that.
And and it went back to, her past, her childhood, and it went back into past lives.
Mhm.
But most of us don't have that awareness.
This is
But
I would like to ask you about the ancestral healing actually. How how does that influence us? It's not
oh,
many people maybe think, yeah, it's my life and my childhood, but how does the ancestral path influence us, and how can that be?
2 years ago, my son gave me a book for Christmas that says it didn't begin with you.
Yeah, I have that as
Didn't
well.
start with you.
Yeah.
And basically it had research about that. But I've been doing that since the 1970s
Mhm.
because my first clients showed that kind of problem.
Mhm.
And it took me 2 years to find ways to heal how things are passed down through the family. We have things like predilections for certain illnesses.
Mhm. Mhm.
We have patterns that run through us. The first pattern I ran through was a woman that every generation in her family, she'd been raped, her daughter had been raped, her mother had been raped. It's like it was just passed on. And I was like, oh my God, this is not the truth.
Mhm.
So I just dove into finding a way to get through it. And in a couple of years, I found a way, and then I kept finding more ways and things like this. So it's passed down. Like if I asked you, Betty,
Oh yeah.
let's do a little exercise. What is the main problem passed down through your mother's side of the family? If you were to know.
Yeah, I'm working at this actually. It's not being able to let yourself be fully loved.
No, not letting yourself be loved. How's that have been affecting you?
Yeah, not so
Come on,
well.
baby. I love you. Come on, let it in. It's okay. I'm your buddy.
Yeah,
Okay.
because of war. It's actually because I read this book as well, and it was recommended to me because of this stuff, and because of war, of the World War I and II, and my grandmother's mother was there. So all this stuff has been passed down, and there was so much fears and so much, I guess, closing up, and the fear of intimacy came up.
How many generations back did it begin?
20 comes up.
So it began before the wars.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, there were wars in Germany and Prussia, in the 1870s. I mean, there were wars, it's part of our legacy.
Yeah.
So, Betty, I'm going to show you a couple simple exercises.
Mhm.
And what's the soul gift you would have brought in to heal this problem on your mother's side of the family, if you were to know?
The divinity, true divinity, a connection to the divinity.
Yeah, because when you have that divinity, um, I was just getting ready to write a chapter. It'll be the next chapter I write. It's called I'm Spirit, but I have all these things I want to do in the world. I have all these things I want to get. I have all these experiences that I want. There was a movie out. It was a funny movie about 15, 20 years ago. It was called The Death of Moochie. He was like a cartoon character on kids, and
Mhm.
and somebody took his job and became Moochie, in this big
Mhm.
costume. And then there was this big kind of war going on between the two sides. And one guy is falling out of the top of the movie theater where the lighting is. And he was falling after he'd been shot. And he goes, "But I haven't seen Venice," which means he'll probably return on the wheel so he can get to go to Venice. So it's like we have all of these needs and desires and whims.
Mhm.
There's a story of a master in India, and his disciple was right there, and he died. And the next thing is that he glanced up and he saw this ant going for this mango, and he knew that his master had this love of mangoes, and so he just reached up and squished the ant, and knowing it was his master.
Oh, wow.
And all of a sudden, as he heard this big thank you, because it ended his cycle on the dream in the dream cycle.
Okay, wow.
Anyhow, we are coming up to so many collective challenges in the world. I mean, they are just hitting the surface. I predicted this like 7 years ago. I could see this coming, and I was going, "Come on, people, let's get peaceful. Let's heal ourselves because the worst is yet to come. No worries, the worst is yet to come." But there are also times of great opportunity. So let's learn these lessons and not go after frivolous things when we could have peace. And peace is the doorway to heaven. So it's like you get peaceful enough and it's just easy to slip into oneness. So anyhow, push come to shove, I talked to my network in Germany last summer, and my trainers and the people on staff, and they were all behind it, like, yeah, let's go for this. There were Germans and Austrians and Swiss, and this Swiss woman said, "Well, I don't have anything to do. I don't have any bad feelings about the war." I said, "We weren't part of it." I said, "Of course you were. You had all the money." So anyhow, we got excited about this idea of bringing this in
Mhm,
to Germany
mhm,
as and to just have it radiate out and to know that forgiveness frees you. Forgiveness is meant for you because underneath your judgment or grievance or blame, there's guilt.
mhm,
Most people don't know that. And so look what you did to me, but actually it was our guilt that called in the self-attack. And this person, if we realize they're making a call for help because they're acting out many lifetimes that we used to be that same way. We people the world with our past and our ancient past. So everything is an opportunity to help ourselves and help them. And forgiveness is a giving forth. Um, one of the aspects of giving forth is um, under every problem, you can think of a problem, couldn't you, Betty?
one or two.
Yeah. I mean, you're a human being. You haven't, ascended yet. So, but what I found, and this was again back in the 70s, is that under every problem, and depending on the size of the problem, there's that big a gift.
Mhm, mhm.
So, can you imagine that?
Yeah. Mhm,
Okay, so think of the gift
mhm,
and bring it into everyone in that problem situation. Receive it, offer it to God to be multiplied 1,000, 10,000 times, and then share it with everyone.
mhm.
So what we're doing is it's like I played American football and I was a halfback and a fullback, so I was running with the ball. I was the one catching, you know, catching the ball or running with the ball and running away from these 6'9" guys who wanted to catch me and grab my legs and make a wish. So uh, you know it was fun. Anyhow, so these gifts free us and they free the person. They're just wonderful.
Mhm.
Our mind is like a machine gun. It just judge, 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 judge. And we've set up a whole world out of our judgment. And here's the crazy thing. Like, can you think of a need you have?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to share that with us? Because
um, to
to
yes, it's to be seen, to be chosen.
be seen, but now notice that you're seeking for it out there.
Mhm,
And it's out there because we judged ourselves, fragmented and projected it. And now we're trying to get it out there,
mhm, mhm.
but we've judged it and we want it. So we have this split mind.
Yeah, yeah, true. Mhm.
So anyhow, um, what's the soul gift that you brought in to heal your mother's side of the family of this, not allowing love?
the divinity was the true divinity.
Right. So now, can you, I'm going to give your mother the gift of innocence
Mhm,
because you can't have any kind of attack or clenching or imprisonment. There's just with innocence, there's expansion, there's flowering.
mhm. Yeah.
So, um, what gift does Mother Mary have for your mother's side of the family?
Motherhood.
Motherhood?
Mhm.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's very nice.
So let the three of us, you, me, and Mother Mary, pour those gifts into your mother.
Wow.
How's she doing now?
Almost exploding because of love.
Ah.
Where is this going?
When you get down to the essence, that's what you find. It's love.
Yeah.
It's light. It's peace. So Now let Mother Mary carry it back to each generation, to your grandparents, your great grandparents, each generation carrying our gifts back.
Oh, wow. Like a sacred flower is being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And notice that this gift to your mother is also, as you're recognizing it, as we recognize our gifts, our forgiveness, it's like we recognize that's what we've come. That's part of our purpose. Our gifts are part of our purpose that we've come to give to the world. And especially to women.
Very, very nice.
I've been doing a lot of work with my trainers and students about innocence around their sexuality
Mhm, mhm,
because there's these ancient beliefs and there's these beliefs from religion and these beliefs that, I'm guilty.
mhm, mhm.
I'm not meant to have breasts and a vagina. I better throw my beauty away, throw my sexuality away. And those are just natural things.
Yeah.
And we're meant to have them as bridges of love,
Mhm,
not bridges of prison or anything else, any kind of control. It's just meant to be joining, and it's meant to be joy that comes of joining. And that really happens at most, really mind to mind,
mhm,
not just body to body, but mind to mind.
mhm.
It's our mind that makes it what it is. What did Shakespeare say? "'Tis neither good nor bad, but thinking makes it so."
This is true. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's changing people's minds toward truth.
Mhm,
And truth brings freedom, as Jesus said.
mhm.
Now, let's that's a very simple way. It's one of the simplest ways I've found of healing an ancestral pattern. Let me show you another. Okay.
Mhm.
Let's imagine, Betty, what is the biggest problem passed down through your father's side of the family?
Um, Violence.
So, can you see how this played off father, mother kind
Yeah.
of thing? How many generations ago did that begin?
38.
And somehow, if you were to know, because you use your intuition on these things, your intuition has all these answers. If you were to know, did it begin with a man, a woman, or both?
Both. Just a.
And just as a little aside, if you were to know what country they were living in, it's the country that's now called,
Asia.
uh-huh, that gives you your cute eyes, just okay. So, let's go back there to Asia.
Yeah.
And what's going on with them that this violence begins in their generation and gets passed down 38 generations?
Just the man hitting the woman, actually. That's
Mm,
that came up.
okay. Now, what I have found in this is that in abuse situations, is that what happens is it's our guilt and we get ourselves punished.
Mhm.
And it typically starts when we're a kid and we've been hit by our parents or beaten by our parents. And then that's the martyr position where you're trying to take all of and sometimes the scapegoat position, where you take all of the bad feelings and you attack yourself so everybody else cannot be attacked. It's sacrifice and it doesn't work because the problems continue. But it's a core family role. The black sheep and also the um, martyr, the sacrificer. And now it comes up in every negative situation we have, those family roles come up, every single one. So anyhow, let's go back there. And what soul gift do you have for those ancestors?
Peace, inner peace. Mhm.
And I have the gift of holy family bonding. And bonding makes love and success with ease. And what gift does Mother Mary have for them?
Mm, it's divine comfort. She's holding them.
So um, I think we all like being a part of that situation, right?
Yes.
So let us open up our gifts and give them to Mother Mary. She's in oneness to multiply 1,000 or 10,000 times and to share holy family bonding, to share peace, and to share her gift of divine comfort, to being held in the Divine Mother's arms, so that all the worries and cares and sufferings that we've had, our suffering stories and our idols of suffering and our suffering conspiracies, all which are just what the ego manufactures to keep itself going. But as we give them to those ancestors, how are they doing?
Um, they're dancing. Image comes up that they're dancing, actually, the two of
Mhm.
them.
Sweet. And so, how does their lives turn out?
They are very happy. It's, yeah, just I just see the two of them being happy and dancing through their lives, actually.
And so, what do they pass on to their children?
Joy and happiness and yeah, this dancing culture. I don't know if there's an Asian dancing culture, but it's just they're just so much into dancing with each other.
And well, they danced all the way to Austria.
Yeah.
So now let Mother Mary carry it down through each generation. And as it gets to your grandparents, how does it show up? How does it look?
It's just a total switch. Just a very, very humble and nice and funny guy.
And what does he pass on to your father with Mother Mary's help?
Confidence, actually, is, yeah, passing confidence and just, yeah, and this kind of integrity as well, and just being steady inside of yourself.
Yeah. And so as it's passed on to you, how does it show up?
Yeah, feel extremely loved and steady and confident and stable and safe, secure.
Now, how does that feel?
Great.
Do you have a new mother and father?
Sorry?
Do you have a new mother and
Yeah,
father?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's like the masculine side, my father is not recognizable, actually. It's
Uh-huh. Yeah, he's more of his essence. He's closer to his true being.
very cool.
And this is what we have come to do is we've come to free our ancestors. Around 1998, I was working in a workshop in Vancouver Island doing a 10-day workshop
Mhm.
with Lency. And I found working in the unconscious mind that we had all made promises that we would free our ancestors of their chains. Now, by that time, I had already found a number of ways to do it, and I found other ways that other people had researched. and and used in great with great effect.
Mhm.
We have we've come to change the world because at a soul level, at an unconscious level, we're just seeing in the world what's in our mind.
Mhm.
I read this quote yesterday, 2 days ago from A Course in Miracles. It was actually one of the cards for the day that I write. I kind of pray and pull out a saying, and it was, the world is incapable of change because it is an effect of our thoughts. So we can, as one of my books says, one of my early books, it was Change Your Mind, Change the World. So this is static, but this is always changing. So as we come to peace, then the conflicts in the world, heal. I was in the 70s, I was working at the Naval Drug Rehab Center,
Mhm.
working with Marines and sailors, and I got one guy who was a dealer, and so he was getting the pure heroin. And his therapist asked me if there was anything I could think of to help him. And I go, yeah, bring him over to our floor and let's see what happens. And what I was inspired to do was to do healing energy to induce him into a great state of peace.
Mhm.
And when he got so peaceful, and this was after about 3 hours and over 3.5 hours that we were just there because we were in such a happy, suspended state of peace. But then his therapist, me, and another therapist who were working with him, we all kind of looked up and looked at each other because we could feel something coming. And in about 5 minutes, he leaped out of the chair that he was in
Mhm.
and came down.
Mhm.
We continued on for about another 5 minutes. And then we asked him what happened. He said, I saw a devil in the clouds ahead of me with this great pitchfork, and he threw it down with all his force. And when I jumped this when it went into me. That was the moment of his release from the addiction of heroin, all in a symbolic way. And after that, he got offered some heroin and he refused it, which was the pure test. And then each time he would come, I would have different people working with me until there was just myself. But his level of peace went down so low that it was lower than any of the therapists on his floor. And he had become like another therapist on the floor. And he spoke with authority because he had been a dealer and he knew that path and he knew where it led. And yeah, he
Beautiful.
got better. And the day he left, he shook my hand. He said, my grandmother, when I was caught up in heroin, she said, there's going to be a young doctor that saves you.
Oh, wow.
And I went, whoa, I got chicken skin, just, and yeah, it's like, and it was through peace. If you can become peaceful below the level of conflict, then you're free. Most of the time, I like to go in and, pull out the rocks in people's minds.
Yeah.
And then it's muddy for a while, but then it gradually settles down to greater peace. I mean, there's different paths. There's the path of peace, which is like meditation and yoga and things like this. And you get really path, and there's gets down to where all the mud settles and becomes clear water, and you see the rocks there. I more like let's pull out the rocks, and then let's get peaceful. And there's quick ways to get peaceful too. The biggest thing here, Betty, and it's what you're talking about, is divinity. And this is a thing that when people get this, that we have our divinity. We're still one with God. God created us like himself. He was spirit. He didn't create us in bodies. That was the result of thousands of separations that we did, where we split off because we wanted to make a world of our own and we wanted to be God of our own world. And look at what a good job we've done.
Yeah. Worse
So
and worse.
it's healing all those splits, those fragmentations, those separations. Our mind, when we were created, was in oneness. Had the mind of God. But as we separated, as we fell, and each one was a fall. And, I work with people and we go back to these huge separations in the mind and they win back enormous gifts. Now, an interesting thing is when we fell and we fragmented, you know, um, about 7 years ago, right around the time of COVID, I was watching, world sports and it was cliff jumping. And it
Ah,
was somewhere in the, far Balkan area, past Turkey, somewhere in there.
close to.
Somebody would jump off a cliff that was about, 10 to 15 meters high, and they'd jump into dirt.
Okay.
So they were having one of these things that they did annually, and the guy jumped off the cliff and he landed in the dirt. And the commentator kept talking, kind of nervously looking around, and the guy didn't move the whole time that the commentator was talking. I think we lost that sports person, and I mean crazy, but that's the metaphor that I've used as we jumped off of the cliff in the astral where we had a certain level of consciousness and we fell and it was horrendous pain, acute pain. And sometimes as I'm working with people, we get down to that level of acute pain where we fragmented ourselves. And then we had to dissociate to survive because it was too agonizing. It's too much anguish. And we split off and we broke off part of our mind. And the interesting thing, it's all metaphor when you get to this level of the mind in the unconscious, is they became the demons and devils and dark gods that plague us. They're us. And so there's ways to bring them back into wholeness and oneness. And when you recover that big a slice of your mind, you know, your genius grows, your awareness grows, the more awareness you have, the higher you feel, the more joy you feel because of that expansive awareness. So it's winning back your mind that occurred even before birth. Now, we're dealing with collective issues in the world. I mean, we always were, but it was so much slower. Now it's happening left and right. And, how many times a week is there some kind of catastrophic event, some kind of event where it looks like the dumbest thing politically? And we're dealing with those things because it's our mind and it's our ancient mistakes that we're dealing with. And to forgive those is to find our wholeness and our peace and our giftedness. There's some desperate situations, even life and death situations where people are in. And basically, any situation you're in, again, I'll repeat it, you have the gift that would heal it. And some of these dire situations that we get in are to motivate us to bring the gift that would transform the situation and even to bring the miracle that would transform the situation. And that comes from extending ourselves. Miracles come from love. And then God's love is always willing to join, but just the faith that this is not the truth. This is not God's will for me. It's not my true will. So I want to reach out with my love and God's love, and I want a miracle. I want to see the truth. I want to see what's behind all this.
So that means, for example, if we are watching TV and some political issue is coming up and bothering us, the people watching
Yeah.
that,
Mhm.
I just look inside of myself what the gift is for that situation and let it pour into, for
And
example.
extend it into people. People are, if they're not loving, they're calling for help. It can trigger our anger, but that's our old catch of anger. That's our old guilt. You can trace anger all the way back to when we had the fall, the first separation. And as we fell, we got really angry that we made such a stupid mistake. But the thing is, we could have just changed our mind, because if God established oneness, we can't separate. There's no way. So we could just remember, oh yeah, my will and God's will, they're together. So, and then you have remembrance and you're back to that oneness with God. So part of your purpose um, is to bring, Betty, is to bring in oneness, is to bring in that sense of remember. This isn't the truth. This world. Now I have this beautiful scene from the time I was at university. I kept having this call to come to Hawaii. And for my doctorate, I got to San Diego,
Mhm.
but I still kept feeling this call. It wasn't Hawaii. I'm meant to be in Hawaii. And I got here, and this felt like home. It was the first time I felt like I was at home since I was a child. As a matter of fact, the house that we bought, there was a graveyard right next to my office, and I could tune in, and there was, the some of the previous owners had been buried there, um, but there were all these kahunas buried there. And one time, about 2 years later, I had a woman, I was doing a session with a woman who was a psychic. And right in the middle, she says, I have to stop. I have to tell you, you have a lot of your old friends buried right outside here, old kahunas. And I go, chicken skin. It was like, yeah, I know. I know. So, and we've done many healing workshops at that property.
Oh, wow. Mhm.
So, and right next to the office, we're done many, many, many thousands of coachings.
Beautiful.
So it's so it's this important thing. It's like to feel your oneness with God, which God's in oneness, right? So is he inside you?
Yes.
Is Christ in oneness? He was the first one to remember oneness. Is he inside you? Is Buddha inside you?
Yeah.
Mother Mary, Kuan Yin, Krishna.
Mhm.
So, but we still want to live our personal lives and do
Yeah.
our thing, and and go get disillusioned again and again. But when we come to that place of peace, we radiate peace.
Mhm.
We radiate hope. We radiate confidence, and people get empowered by that. Where you see a leader that is just wants control, that's out of fear. But true power empowers people.
It's true. Yeah.
And they don't want to take prisoners, because if you take prisoners, okay, Betty, in your life, how many prisoners have you taken?
20.
So you have to be the jailer. So at least you have one shift a day where you have to be the jailer. and looking over the 20 people, or you could release them. Sorry, Entschuldigung, Demichi, Gomenasai, to say it in different languages. Say it in American, I'm fucking sorry. You know, just, yeah. In French, je suis désolé. We've come to heal ourselves and become more whole and regain our power and regain our divinity. I've seen people who are just like the best of humanity, but they're not stopped. They graduate into divinity. So it's like Jesus said, be in the world, but not of it. Have one leg in heaven and one leg here. That's
Yeah.
quite a stretch, quite a stretch. But it's like you're giving up everything you're trying to get from the world because trying to get is a form of violence. It's taking. And that's why so many relationships, oh, he's going to meet my needs. She's going to meet my needs. And then we get so utterly disappointed and into the power struggle stage. Oopsie. And it's just learning these lessons. It's our giving that makes us happy. And that alone allows us to receive. Because most people are really bad at receiving, as evidenced by what they have. They figure I have to work really hard for anything I get. But that's not heaven's plan. You're God's child. You're meant to be receiving. I mean, that's true entitlement. See, every time we separated, we got into these needs and we go, I got wounded, so I deserve to be treated this way. And that just leads to a path of pain. That's a path of revenge. And if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. But our heartbreaks are actually fights. We think they were all this other stuff, but they were fights.
Yeah, this is true.
We were trying to get our way, we tried to get our needs met.
Mhm.
Do it my way, which is the right way. I have heaven beside me, and he's saying, I'm the right way. Do it my way. Now, it seems like the world, the wheel of fortune for the world is going down into dark times. But you could be one that's going, nah, not on my watch, not in my house. It's all our house. And then see if you don't judge what's happening, because if you judge, you become the victim. But if you join, you don't have to agree, but you join the energy. It's like, here's this big wave coming in. Fight the wave and you drown. Yeah. Do you want to drink the wave? Or if you join it, you surf. So, that's a saying. It's a naughty saying that the surfers have. You know, the waves are never stop, so you might as well learn to surf. And then they go on to say, if it swells, ride it. Yeah, those surfers.
Yes.
You know.
Naughty guys.
Anyhow, if you join the essence of this, it seems like this dark thing, and I hate it, and it's just all this emotion. But if you join it, which is a sense of extending yourself, and you join that energy, what happens is it gets your mind.
Mhm.
And this has a way of, instead of the wheel of fortune going down, it has the wheel of fortune going up. And it starts with you. And so then, in spite of what's going on, you're peaceful, you're centered. And in centeredness, you remember that you're spirit, that you're part of God's mind because he's oneness. We we have these bodies. The ego says this is who you are, right? You
Yeah.
identify with your body. And yeah, and we need to take care of our bodies and we need to include ourselves. These are things that really were. But but we're not our bodies. This is how we if God we were created in God's likeness. Like we've heard that so many times, but we think that God must have been a body then because I'm a body. No, you have a body. It's your learning vehicle, you know, and how many Betty, how many crashes have you had with the vehicle of your body?
20,000.
Heilige Scheiße. So you can call in Mother Mary and Kuan Yin to take these 20,000 crashes that happened in your mind, carry them to God's trading post, and deliver those 20,000 crashes because each time you had a crash, you identified more with your body. But as we turn it over to Heaven's trading post, what comes back for it?
Wholeness.
Wholeness.
Hallelujah.
And wholeness is confidence, it's peace, it's expansiveness, it's confidence, it's trust. So how does your learning vehicle feel now?
Whole. Yeah, like
Right.
confident and stable.
Mhm, mhm. And that's your mind thinking about you driving. There's I was in China doing a workshop once, and I asked people, "Who's driving your car?" Like many people said, "My mother."
No.
I'm in the back seat. Other people said, "My father." And my wife. And she's a bad driver. You know, and and another guy had his hand up, the last guy, and I said, "Oh yeah, um, who's driving your car?" And he says, "My chauffeur." I go, okay, we're going to let this one slide. It doesn't really fit the metaphor. But what if you I said, what if you let Kuan Yin drive your car? Is that even a better choice than your chauffeur? And he went,
Definitely. Yeah.
yeah. He went, Ginao. But he said it in Mandarin. So it's learning to have your life get easier because, the challenges are going to come fast and furious. So it's important to heal ourselves. In A Course in Miracles, it says that's why we're in this world. It's to heal ourselves, to become whole, as you just said. Because when you become whole, you become joyful and happy and loving. And then you just want to give. You want to give like God gives, which is everything to everyone.
Yeah, it's expanding as well. Yeah.
In A Course in Miracles, it says the Holy Spirit's function is healing. And then it says, guess what? Your function is healing too. So you're meant to be part of that extension of God's mind, which brings wholeness. What I have found, okay, so from the 70s and into the 80s, it's like, I studied psychology, I studied the subconscious mind, the unconscious mind, but there are some problems that could take a year of therapy, or they could take one spiritual principle. And we're spiritual beings. And basically, it's love is the spiritual being. So it's, getting us back to where our heart is open and we feel that generosity. We're just helping because when you help somebody, you help yourself.
Yes.
So in this workshop in Germany, which you can do online, you can sign up online, or you can do in person. There was last time I talked, they had a limit of like 100 people, and they had like about 15 seats left to do it in person, which is quite spectacular. It's like to just see what's happening and feel the energy. Now, if you're dedicated, when you see something online and see how it heals and makes whole, you can ride on that and piggyback on that and just heal yourself. Because as you heal yourself, that goes out to everyone you love and you have a happier life. So, but it can be pretty dramatic. And we're going to go into all kinds of the healing ancestral patterns that I've learned over the years, and all kinds of like how to forgive what you consider what's unforgivable.
Mhm, mhm. I'm looking very forward to it, Chuck.
Yeah.
It's
You're
beginning
going
of.
to come? You're going to be with us there?
I'm online. I'm participating online.
You'll be shining the shining light online there.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Chuck. We will see each other in May. Everybody still who wants to join, I put the link to the video.
Thank
Um,
you. The link to the video, and where would they get a link? I guess Frankfurter Ring. If
exactly.
you
Yeah. This is
get the link to
online.
this online workshop, and it's the first time that I'll be back to Frankfurter Ring since before COVID.
Wow. This is worth a party.
Yeah, it's always a party.
Thank you so
Yay.
much, Chuck, for your time and for your insights and for all those exercises we can do on a daily basis. And see you soon in May. Thank you.
See you
Mm.
soon, mate. Mwah.